Oh, out of rhythm. We're back. I can't believe it. It's been a minute. We haven't streamed in, how long has it been, Jay?
I think a couple months. Yes. Yes, guys. Welcome into Algorithm Fantasy. I'm your host, Jamie, and I got my co-host Eli over there on the other side over there. And yes, it's been a minute for us. I had a life change here a little bit. I don't work nights anymore, so I'm actually a day person now. So I mean, me trying to wrap up, kind of get some more podcasting. I know the fantasy football season is coming around the corner, and me and Eli, we've kind of been talking here and there a little bit about, I'm like, hey, because we used to do an NFL, kind of a fantasy breakdown. I'm like, you know what? Since we swapped over to the college side, I think it was time for us to, kind of dive into some of these, conferences and give you guys some names to watch for. And I know this is this is actually a first for us. So we'll kind of see how this kind of goes, and eventually these will get better and better and better over each time we do them. More breakdowns, and we're just gonna give you our thoughts on players to watch for, even if they're waiver wires or whatever it might be. So if you need a waiver wire guy for that week, these might be names that you could be watching for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is our second year of doing strictly college. We loved last year, had a bunch of fun. So, why not bring it back? And as always, got to, as they say, pay the bills here. So, go check us out on Spotify. Got all the previous content. We know we've been dead for 3 months. So if you were missing us, all the shows are over on Spotify. All the shows are over on YouTube. You can watch us, hear us, whatever. A couple other platforms as well. The usual suspects, the X as always. But you know what? Why make anybody that's watching this live? Why make you wait any longer? We're going to talk about the AAC here. Look at all these guys. Look at all these wonderful players. I know a lot of them are Navy and UTSA.
What's that all about? What's up with all these? Yeah,
I know. I'm kind of biased because those are two of my favorite teams in the conference. But especially UTSA, I'm going to be talking them up because you want to talk about a sleeper team. I know they went 6-6 last year, but they could be this year's Army. They kind of come out of nowhere and maybe have a 10-2 kind of season, 11-1. So you take a look, be on the lookout for that as well. Just in the conference. But we're going to jump from the AAC into, probably do this weekly, maybe 2 a week if we can, before the season starts and before the fantasy drafts kick in. So we're going to be cranking these out. We're starting with the AAC because it's one of our favorite conferences. I don't think they get a lot of love. Honestly, I think they were better. Jay, I think they were better than the Mountain West last year, and Boise got that playoff bid.
Yeah, it was some of the stuff I was kind of trying to do as far as like a fantasy total, which conference does what, and I didn't get a chance to do that one yet, so I'm just kind of curious of what they did as a fantasy total, because I mean for me, as a fantasy guy, as all of us, we want to know where these fantasy points are coming from and whatnot. So like for me, I like to kind of break that down so I can kind of maybe target a separate conference than the SEE or the Big Ten. I mean, there's going to be talents there too, but I mean, some of these smaller conferences are still putting up, half decent fantasy points.
Well, they all pay the same, like we always say. There's no difference between, what, like Travion Henderson last year, Ohio State running back. There's him and Mekhi Hughes from Tulane. It pays the same. I mean, they play, and you can argue, strength of schedule or whatever opponents, but all the yards pay the same in fantasy. All the touchdowns pay the same. All the running back, receiver receptions, tight end receptions, all pay the same. So doesn't matter. So these conferences to us are all equal. Maybe not money, NIL wise and power wise or whatever, but they all pay the same to us. So we're going to cover, we'll cover the AAC the same as we cover the Big 12, which is the same as we'll cover, probably the Big 10 as well, and maybe another small conference, maybe the Sun Belt. We'll get into these, but kicking off with the AAC, and what better position, Jay, than the quarterbacks? Wow. I felt good. I haven't done that in months. Wow. Man, look at that. So last year, as you know, the Daily Double himself, Bryson Daly, it's in the bottom scroll too. I put in key losses, whether they transferred, graduated, went to the NFL. There were quite a few guys, kind of the heavy hitters from last year, the names we recognize. A lot of the guys didn't return to school or to their particular school, went on to bigger paydays. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call Miami greener pastures, but they choked away their playoff bid last year. But Alex Bauman from Tulane, he took more money. Obviously, Mekhi Hughes from Tulane, he took more money to go to Oregon. So, but one of those, Bryson Daly, graduated. He was an absolute beast last year. He would have been had he had an extra year of eligibility, Bryson Daly would have been our number one here. But a close second though, Blake Horvath. I know both of us liked Blake quite a bit last year. He has a little more in the passing game. I mean, he obviously you're not going to have a quarterback score 32 touchdowns again, like Bryson Daly. That may never happen again. But Blake Horvath was any other year he would have probably been the top fantasy quarterback. Like any other, like Bryson Daly was a top 10 Heisman finalist at Army. You know what I mean? That says something. Like, I mean, that was a legit season. But Blake Horvath, I think he averaged over 27 fantasy points a game. I mean, he like every week it was 27, 30, 35, 35, 24. I mean, he didn't have a bad week. I think his worst game was probably Notre Dame. I mean, he was cranking them out, and I got to put him number one. They get a lot of their players back. I could see Navy putting up another competitive year and competing for the conference championship again. There are a couple other guys we're going to get into at different positions from Navy as well. So especially running back. But
Blake was 7th in fantasy points. He averaged about 30 points a game. So he only threw 13 touchdowns, but I mean he had quite a few rushing touchdowns. That's why we liked Daly so much too as well.
They had think about that, Jay. They had two, like in the AAC, they had 2 top 7 fantasy quarterbacks. Yep. So, I mean, this conference is legit. They don't get the respect that they deserve, and that's what I guess we're gonna try to beat into your head the next hour.
Well, I mean, Mensa was there with Tulane too. I mean, he got a big deal.
I think he moved on too. I think Duke.
Yeah, he went to Duke.
So he'll have a big year there in the not AAC but ACC. But
well, we'll see. I honestly want to see how that pans out. I mean, the Duke had a decent quarterback down there as well. He transferred over to the Beavers, and so I'm kind of curious to kind of see how he's going to do in a different conference for sure.
Yeah, quite a bit of movement as we expected. So especially when we get into some of the receivers and tight ends, there's a lot of young guys that are going to be that we're going to be mentioning. Quarterbacks, you should recognize most of these guys if you played fantasy last year or are fairly familiar with the college game. Owen McCown, I put at number 2. UTSA, their offense, dude, one of the top passing offenses in the conference. I think they'll be one of the best in the country, honestly, with all the weapons they're bringing back, and they have a very favorable schedule. Owen McCown's going to have a ton of weapons to work with. Last year, I think he's going to build on the. I think it was about 21 fantasy points a game. I think he's going to build on that.
I think it was roughly 26. I think somewhere right around there.
We have a couple different sources, but I mean, regardless, like Owen McCown was, I think the 3rd or 4th fantasy quarterback in the AAC last year. and I could easily see him jumping up to number 2 behind Blake Horvath, definitely, or in the mix with the guy we're going to mention after him, Byrum Brown. But I just like the weapons that he's going to be working with, and obviously we know his dad, Josh McCown from the NFL. So we'll see what happens. Maybe this guy is a sleeper draft pick. Maybe we're talking about him, next winter as a 6th, 7th round pick. So
yeah. McCown was the 4th best quarterback in the AAC. So I mean, we had Daly, Chandler Morris, who's gone on. Then we have Blake too as well. I mean, Daly, he's gone. So I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what the Army brings, if they're going to kind of run that same style or not. But I mean, I have some more information on that. We'll bring up a little bit later too, to kind of like determine like who we can target too as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because Army kind of came out of nowhere. That's why I didn't include Dwayne Coleman. Dwayne Coleman's going to be the replacement for Bryson Daly.
Yeah,
and he doesn't really have a lot of track record, obviously, so I didn't include him. I'll get some honorable mentions out of the way as well while we're talking about that. Caton Hauser from Eastern Carolina, we both like him a lot. Caden Somoza, he's a transfer from Ball State. He'll be taking over from Mensa from Tulane. So Somoza will be the Tulane quarterback. And then I think I had somebody else as well, but it slips. Dwayne Coleman from Army, and I just mentioned him not too long ago. So we'll see what he can do. Because it's it's a lot of the same skill position guys. Army, I know they lost Kanye Uda. He went to Arizona State, the stud running back from Army. I know that's a big loss, but Coleman will be working with a lot of the same cast. That's what I liked about the service schools too, man. They're not usually they don't lose a lot of guys to NIL, right? Like if you're serving your country, right? You're not in this to go from Sam Houston to Memphis to Ohio State. Usually it's a pretty consistent thing with the service schools. But number 3, Byrum Brown. He was hurt last year, Jay. Okay, so his stock, I remember you telling me about this. Like, when's Brown going to be, is Brown going to play again? What's going on with Brown? He looked decent. I think first month of the year before he got hurt, he was decent. Had a few decent performances. He was never right, dude. I mean, it says he played in 7 games, but he technically only played in 5 in parts.
Yeah.
Of them.
I think he was kind of in and out in a couple of those games, more likely. But I mean, to think about it.
Jay, I count 2024 as a wash. Okay, I'm not even going to bring that up. We're going to talk strictly 2023. Was one of the best fantasy. I mean, honestly, I'd say he was probably top 15 fantasy quarterback in the country in 2023. Like he was one of the better. And that I mean, you had Caleb Williams still in school. Yeah, Jaden Daniels. I mean, Bo Nix. You had a bunch of those NFL rookies from last year, and they were putting up big stats. Byrum Brown wasn't far off.
Yeah. I mean, to think about it, I mean, he had 419 some odd fantasy points in 2023. So I mean, for me, he was a guy I was actually trying to target last year. I ended up getting him in a couple leagues, but then it was kind of like, because he had some of that rushing upside too as well. So I'm like, well,
809.
Okay.
What was it? Yeah, 809 yards and 11 touchdowns rushing in 2023.
Yeah,
and he threw for almost 3,300 yards. I mean, that's and this guy he reminds me of Cam Newton. That's the vibe. Just watching him and just how he carries himself. He has a lot of Cam Newton to me.
That could be. I was trying to think of I mean, he's kind of maybe kind of like Jalen Hurts a little bit, but like a taller version of him.
Yeah, like a taller Jalen Hurts. Yeah,
he can scramble off and actually still throw the ball at the same time. So I mean, it's pretty well.
Like a true dual threat. This guy's healthy. Yeah. This guy's healthy. He has a chance to be definitely the top fantasy quarterback in this conference. Even above Blake Horvath and Owen McCown for sure. He's got I think Byrum Brown's got the highest ceiling of anybody in this conference. He really does.
Yeah, I think so too as well. And I hope he does rebound, because he's a guy that can actually get you. He had last year he kind of sucked, but this year, I mean, his projections, are 18 touchdowns, 10 receptions. Maybe
that's modest.
Yeah,
if he gets hurt,
I think so.
If he gets hurt, yeah.
8 rushing touchdowns. A couple less than what he had in 2024 or 2023.
Yeah, he had 30 between, he had 11 picks, but if you can get his picks down a little bit, get the maintain 25 touchdowns, get you maybe 13 rushing touchdowns, that's 38 total touchdowns. And all the yards he's going to get. I mean, you want to buy a stock on somebody who's never been lower. Like this guy could be this year, he could be a top 10 Heisman finalist. Like he's got that skill set. Like USF is lucky to have held on to him, because I think if he was fully healthy last year, Jay, he would be at Oregon. He'd be at Tennessee. He'd be at one of these power programs, So USF maybe caught a break last year being able to hold on to him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could see him falling into Nico's replacement down there.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. Same skill set. I think he's better. I think he's better than Nico. Healthy. Let's see. Brendan Lewis, Memphis' new quarterback. He's taken over from Seth Hennigan. Seth Hennigan, obviously, I think what was he drafted in the 7th round? But Hennigan put up some. Sure. If I remember that correctly from the draft, but Hennigan was a damn good college quarterback, damn good fantasy quarterback. So Brendan Lewis from Nevada is going to be taking over for him. He averaged. Jay might, like I said, we use 2 different sources here, so yeah. I don't know if Jay's got any, but basically on my end, he had like 22.5 points a game, which is solid. That's really good. I remember seeing Brendan Lewis in a lot of waiver wires last year, especially beginning of the year before he started tearing it up with Nevada. So Brendan Lewis was there. He's got some upside because Memphis had one of the better passing games the last couple years in the conference, and I could see that continuing. They kind of restocked. I know they lost Rock Taylor, the stud receiver. Obviously Hennigan graduated. Mario Anderson had a monster year last year on the ground for them. I know he graduated as well. He wasn't drafted, but so put him at 4 just based on the offense and what he did at Nevada. And then we're going to close out with a guy. I'll see if Jay has any thoughts on Caden Veldkamp, transfer from Western Kentucky. So another one of these transfer guys. First 3 guys are returning. The last 2 guys here are transfer guys. Veldkamp, at least statistically on my end, had a little over 20 fantasy points a game. But there were a lot of weeks, like I remember towards the end of the season, I was picking him up in the waivers, and using him because he was putting up some really good games. And Western Kentucky, I don't see them doing much without him this year. I think they take a step back, and I think Florida Atlantic takes a step up. The Owls are going to be a good program. Let's just be honest here. The Texas and Florida schools with all their NIL money, like if you want to buy a stock in a couple of these schools to just rock it up, kind of the way Tulane has the last 5 years or so, UTSA and Florida Atlantic. I would say those are the 2 schools in this conference that have the best chance at success going forward and being able to obtain players and keep players and pay them. You have any thoughts on my last guy here, Caden Veldkamp?
There will be one guy that actually followed Veldkamp, to the Owls too as well. So I think this is going to be. Yep. This is going to be a nice, it's going to be a nice combination for the Owls.
So you like Peach High Noon?
Well, if you think about it, no, Salter, I think he was an Owl, so they end up having, they had to find somebody to replace him. So this is a nice guy who can throw, at least 3,000 some odd yards, 25 touchdowns. Maybe they can actually open up this offense a little bit, So hey, it's not a bad, transfer guy, but I don't know, 312 fantasy points. That's maybe that's 25.
Solid guy to keep an eye on.
Yes.
Just to recap here, obviously the highest upside, and I don't think it's debatable. Byrum Brown from South Florida, he's got the highest upside. The most consistent guy you can probably depend on is Blake Horvath, just with his rushing and he can throw a little bit too. So those are probably the 2 guys to kind of carry the conference. Owen McCown, just with the weapons he's working with, I believe. And if you want a guy, like I said, that I mentioned him in the honorable mentions, you want a guy that had good stats last year that me and Jay both like, Kattenhauser from East Carolina. I I really like him a lot, and he had, didn't have as many fantasy points as Caden Veldkamp or Brendan Lewis, but he could have easily been in the top 5 here. So,
yeah.
Only 20. We're keeping a good pace here, and as always, like, subscribe, help us out, spread the gospel. We've been gone quite a bit. Maybe we lost some followers. Replenish. You got to replenish the stock. They run out of vending machines, run out of candy and sodas and all that. So, and we need followers. So, if you like our content, share with a brother, share with a mother. Don't matter. Running backs. Oh yes. So this is where it gets a little more dicey because we're kind of almost introducing new characters to the story, right? So a lot of these guys, we mentioned Mekhi Hughes, he moved on to Oregon. Mario Anderson graduated, and those were just a couple of the heavy hitter running backs that moved on. Kanye Uda from Army went to Arizona State, so those would have been 3 of the probably top 5 running backs from last year. And so a lot of younger guys stepping up, and a couple guys that maybe you've heard of, because like I said, Army went 11-1 last year, and there were a lot of people. I know I was pulling for him. Jay was. I think it's unpatriotic if you're not pulling for. Anthony here. If Jamie changed his hat, I'll spread the word. He likes the Nebraska hat. Okay, don't hate on the Nebraska hat. And if you want Anthony, you're out in Vegas. Send him a Golden Knights hat. Send him a Raiders hat. He'll rock whatever. UNLV. Something. Get him some new merch.
Yeah, well, maybe he can send me an athletics hat. There we go.
Yeah, get him an A's hat. I'll take one too. Shit, looks good on my dome. But yeah, so I was mentioning, Army big year. So they have a running back that came back. I'll talk about Noah Short here in a second. Eli Heidenreich from Navy. Talk about him in a second. He's another guy you maybe heard of last year, but the number one guy in this conference, running back, fantasy wise, going into this year, I'd say it's Jalen, but it's technically Jay Ducker from Temple.
Yeah,
last year he's a Sam Houston transfer. I think we got two Sam Houston transfers in my list today, but 745 yards, 7 touchdowns last year at Sam Houston, 110 receiving yards. And why I put him at number 1 is he's capable of more. His freshman year at Northern Illinois, because he was also at Northern Illinois as well. Freshman year had almost 1,200 yards rushing. So, he's got it in him. And he's more of a bell cow. He's not gonna, he's not Eli Heidenreich here. He's not gonna catch 500 yards receiving or anything crazy, but he can catch a few passes. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up with 1,000 yards. Jay Ducker, and I'm not the only one. There's some other preseason articles I've read about him. He's on the list of top 25 AAC players, projected for this year.
Yeah, I think he's be a guy to watch. I mean, he had 700, and some of the things that I kind of be bringing up too a little bit later too. I mean, he can actually break out too. So I mean, he's had I think either 4 or 5 plus 20-yard on the ground rushing yards. So I mean, he can break through the tackles. So I mean, maybe this is be a guy we can kind of watch for too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would put him at 1. Robert Henry Jr. from UT San Antonio, put him at number 2. The Roadrunners, meet. That's what we need. The sound effects weren't working today. We tried. We were trying them out before the show.
I thought I had it all set up right, and I don't know. I haven't been on my computer for like almost 2 months, and somehow the audio went.
We've been DOA. No, but Jay was trying. But anyways, so we need a meet. Because UT San Antonio could easily win 10 games this year, and we're gonna be talking about them a lot and a lot of their players. Meet. So get used to seeing this logo. Get used to seeing this player too. Robert Henry Jr. last year had over 700 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns. Nice in the receiving game too. And we're going to see a lot of that. Owen McCown is going to, probably 35 to 3,700 yards passing. I mean, it's going to be a big year.
Yeah, for sure.
had 21 receptions, about 200 yards receiving, and a touchdown. So not bad. About a little over 900 yards in total, 8 touchdowns. If he can increase that a little bit, maybe get up to 800 yards rushing and maybe increase the receiving a little bit, his fantasy value is just going to go through the roof. If he can get up in the 400 yard range receiving.
Yeah, last year he had 161 fantasy points last year. I think you mentioned he had 706 rushing yards, about 130 carries on him. So he's not really in the like 200, 300. So really,
no, his body. So his body's fresh, and I don't know if he can be like a true bell cow feature, but that's probably not him. He can get you points in different ways. He's like a Swiss Army knife. So. And I love this. I keep talking him up, but I love this UT San Antonio offense, and I can see a lot of these guys popping. And so I get your hands on him because he's available in all these different leagues. I mean, I looked in the couple leagues that we do together, and he's available as a free agent. So
hell, this guy might be a good. This guy might be a good guy you could use for DFS props.
Yeah, DFS, absolutely. He had a couple games where he popped last year. There's some duds too, but. We're just this is a projection. Obviously, we haven't played any downs yet, so a lot of this is just for this July 19th. So number 3, Jay, had Noah Short. He was a nice complimentary guy. We know about that 300 plus yard a game Army rushing offense, which was lethal. I mean, that's how they went 11-1. Just lethal offense. Yet you had Kanye Uda, like I said, is with Arizona State now. The daily double himself, Bryson Daly, 32 rushing touchdowns, all the yards. And then this guy somehow managed to be the third wheel, and had 569 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Had nice, we know they didn't throw the ball much, man. They averaged like 80 passing yards a game. I mean, this was like some 1940 football, but he had 318 receiving yards himself and 3 touchdowns. So honestly, the offense was literally 3 guys, and I just mentioned them. So if nothing else, this guy's going to get you some work in the receiving game. We're not talking about the Big Ten, or the SEC where it's stockpiled with players that are getting paid a bunch of money, It's like we're well, hey guys, what about a 1,000-yard back, or what about a 1,200-yard back? It's going to be hard. I mean, they had a couple last year, and we saw what happened. They ended up, transferring for more money. So, these are the best of the guys that we're working with here. I like Noah Short. He's going to be the feature guy, or at least as feature as you can get with Army, with their offense. But I like him. Number 4, Jay, I mentioned him earlier. Eli Heidenreich, great name, by the way, great name.
Because it starts with Eli.
He had he was a nice. He is a dual threat running back. He is in the truest sense. You'd like a little more rushing, like rushing yard wise, but 444 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns last year. What I love is 39 receptions, 671 yards, and 6 touchdowns receiving. I mean, those are what, like number 3 receiver numbers?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's giving you number 2 running back numbers, number 3 receiving numbers. And I mean, I think the guy could literally do anything they asked him. Tackle people, return kicks, probably kick field goals. I mean, whatever the hell they asked this guy to do. I love this player a lot. I loved him last year. He was a big part of Navy's success. Him and Blake Horvath. He's probably Blake Horvath, because we know Navy not as bad as Army, but we know Navy doesn't like to throw the ball a bunch. And Eli Heidenreich was probably his top target, from last year. So I had to include Heidenreich in the top 4. And then number 5, Arnold Barnes III. Not RG3, but AB3. Yeah. So AB3 here, he's giving him a nickname. Nobody even knows who he is, and we're giving him a nickname. But he's the guy basically replacing Mekhi Hughes. So
yeah, I don't know. It's
gonna be. I know. Mekhi Hughes is gonna be probably a day 2 draft pick probably a 2nd, 3rd round draft pick next year.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the Barnes. I'm kind of wishy-washy right now just because I have another guy.
Well, I'm going to let Jay put his other guy in the top 5, but I will let people know Barnes was with Tulane last year. Like I know he was overshadowed. Mekhi Hughes was one of the best running backs in the country. Of course, he was overshadowed. But as a number 2 back, he had 402 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, a receiving touchdown. That's not bad. So maybe about 500 total yards and 7 touchdowns. That's not terrible.
I thought Barnes was a transfer in.
No, he was with Tulane last year.
Was he?
Yeah, he was like the backup.
Interesting.
Who do you got? Who's Barnes' replacement here in the top 5?
It would be McClure, because he was a freshman last year. Jamar, he was a freshman last year. So because I know they had another guy come in and transfer, and that was Turner. So that's why I thought Turner was the guy you were talking about here. But no,
so far on the depth chart, Barnes has beat him out. But yeah, I remember Turner transferring. So I mean, we'll probably see a dual system, dual running back system.
Only because Hughes was the bell cow there. They just kind of gave him a break here and there and whatnot. So this offense is going to look a little bit different. So it might take a little bit for we can see someone to actually, break out. And I thought maybe my other guy would be kind of the guy who kind of would break out.
Yeah. And obviously a lot of these guys, they're not the same talent level as last year.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a bunch of NFL level guys. So yeah, we're going to see who, but it gives you a couple ideas of who to maybe draft. Maybe if somebody's tearing it up the first couple weeks of the year, you can get your hands on them in the waivers, make a trade for one of these guys. So a lot of it's projection, with not so much with the quarterbacks, but when we talk about running backs and now receivers as well. Jay, we got receivers. You ready for some receivers? Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. All right, you better rapid fire this then.
The pistols, boy. So this was harder. This was harder. There's not a lot to work with. A lot of the receivers are divas. We know that. We know they're probably the most likely to transfer. If you're the number 6 receiver at Penn State, why would you stay there when you can get paid by, whoever, Sam Houston to be the one. So receivers. So we're projecting a lot of young guys that don't have a huge proven track record, even less so than the running backs. I put number 1.
That was, I think that was the thing too, because when I was trying to dive in and I'm like, my God, there's really not a whole lot of people here. And, I was trying to look at last year, the guys that maybe were going to stay around that might have that potential of, just kind of being, that star in the AAC and what, I mean, if you think about, what ECU did last year, I mean, they were a team that were at the rock bottom, and they actually rose last year. They were a team to actually take a look at, and especially their quarterbacks, the wide receivers, and the running back room were, I actually had a couple of these guys because I'm like, the potential of them, they actually soared up in the fantasy realm of what we wanted, So I was like,
well, and they got pillaged. East Carolina, Tulane, these schools just got pillaged, and only thing you can do is Yannick Smith, who I've got at number 4, for example. I'll get him out of the way right now. We'll just do whatever since we're talking about ECU. He had 25 receptions, 434 yards, three touchdowns last year. Pretty efficient receiver. He would have been probably their 3rd receiver last year.
Yeah,
but he's going to have to
probably.
But he's going to step up and be their 1. Right now he's going to be their number 1 or number 2 receiver this year, and so he's got to step up because you can't. They can't hold on to guys. Obviously, guys graduate too, but a power 4, power 5 school comes in, offers them ton of money. What are you going to do? You can't. ECU can't fight back. So
Sowell. He was the guy we mentioned last year.
Sowell.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he was one guy I mentioned last year about, hey guys, go out and get him. He had a pretty decent
really
year.
Good year.
Yeah, and now he's down with Iowa. He's Cyclone. So now I mean, his potential is going to be even more now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he's kind of, what would you say? He's going to be Jalen Noel's replacement. He's not as good as Jalen Noel, but you get my point. Like,
yeah, I think he'll be Noel. Yeah, I think he'll be in that filler. I think he'll be a Noel. He's not Higgins, but he'll be.
He's not Jalen.
Yeah, he'll be that Noel guy for them.
So when we get into, we're kind of introducing these guys, kind of projecting, because there's going to be some of these guys that pop. There's going to be amongst this group here, there's going to be 1,000-yard receiver. There's going to be an 8-9 touchdown receiver here. It's just who's it going to be? Who's the most likely? Yeah. I put Simeon Evans. He's a Sam Houston, another one of the Sam Houston guys that transferred. 50 receptions last year, 559 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. So, I mean, really solid numbers. And you're hoping with this North Texas passing game, which has been the best, if not the best, in the conference the last 2 years, 2023, 2024 with Chandler Morris and they had Ward last year.
Yeah,
Ward and who was like the DT Sheffield.
Yeah, Sheffield. Yeah.
So Damon Ward and DT Sheffield last year both had monster fantasy years. Chandler Morris had monster fantasy year. And so I'm hoping it's just the program. It's not the player. It wasn't just Chandler Morris, tearing it up. It's a program thing. Like remember back in the day, Texas Tech used to have that system where like all their quarterbacks would have 4,000 or 5,000 yards. It didn't matter who it was. So I'm hoping North Texas is going to be that way too. And Simeon Evans right now is projected to be their number 1 receiver. So if you want to get your hands on a number 1 on a top passing attack, especially in this conference, this would be the guy. Number 2, Devin McCoon, 45 receptions last year. He stayed at the same school. So we're not dealing with a transfer here, but a lot of these other guys are. 45 receptions, 424 yards, 5 receiving touchdowns. And UTSA, take your pick. I just picked him of the bunch. There's probably 2 other guys that could be in this spot that could potentially boom this year in that offensive attack. But I just put him in there, and he was a definitely a top 20 fantasy receiver in the AAC last year. Something like that, somewhere around that range.
97th, I think.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, so he in the conference, he was one of the better fantasy receivers.
Yeah,
and I know his numbers weren't great, but I know his numbers weren't great, but we're hoping, maybe he jumps up to it, just blows through the roof and becomes a 900-yard receiver, 1,000-yard receiver. That'd be great. Number 3, I put Amari Hayes. He's a Florida Atlantic transfer over to Tulane, who had to restock. We know they got savaged and pillaged. And they had to kind of fight back a little bit and picked up a few guys. Not bad numbers. You like the touchdowns to be up a little bit. He had 39 receptions, almost 600 yards receiving, only 3 touchdowns. But you're thinking maybe in this Tulane offense, they can get a little bit more out of him. And Amari Hayes is the clear number 1 receiver for Tulane, so he'll be getting number 1 target shares. So you're. Oh, I just heard the buzzer beep from the dryer. Sorry, I thought I was out of time.
You're done.
Yank me off. Yannick Smith, Jay, I already mentioned. So I mean, we'll see what he can do being a number 1, number 2 receiver this year. And then the last guy, number 5, Jaden Thompson. He's kind of been a journeyman. Been to a couple different schools, was at Cincinnati and Louisville. So he's been at some bigger programs. He's been at some Big 12 and ACC schools before. Last year with Louisville he only had 6 receptions, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. But he did have almost 400 yards receiving in 2022 with Cincinnati. So, kind of maybe a late bloomer, like maybe a, 5th, 6-year guy or I think he's a 6-year guy, honestly. So he's old as shit. But he's penciled in right now to be the number 1 receiver at Memphis. We know what Rock Taylor did last year with Seth Hennigan. So we're hoping maybe Brendan Lewis and Jaden Thompson can have that kind of rapport, because Memphis is going to need new guys to step up if they're going to try to repeat being 10-2 and having one of the better passing offenses in the conference. Do you have any? I know a lot of these guys are newer characters, but do you have any offenses that you like that these guys might thrive in? Like any of these 5 offenses that Tulane or UTSA, East Carolina, Memphis, or North Texas? Any of these passing games that you trust that one of these guys by default will just accumulate numbers, just being a part of that offense, maybe?
Well, I mean, Memphis is always known for, putting up points and whatnot. So, a lot of these guys are, in great places where they can actually bloom. I mean, UTSA was one of the, in the AAC, they were actually one of the teams that actually does like 70 or 80 plays a game. So the potential in a lot of these guys are actually going to be, which I'll bring up here in a little bit here, where they can actually. So my point was actually looking at plays to how many opportunities these guys are going to get. So McCullen, he's in a great opportunity. Y. Smith, he's in a great opportunity. So a lot of these guys are in great opportunities where you can actually see the repercussions of actually seeing touchdowns and whatnot from a lot of these guys too as well.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys. Simeon Evans, I saw 6 touchdowns from him at Sam Houston. So I'm hoping he has the capability to have 9-10 touchdowns given the right passing game with North Texas. So you're just kind of hoping. A lot of these guys, they're not touchdown monsters or haven't been in their past. So we're just kind of hoping. Fingers crossed, Jay. Fingers crossed.
Right.
And finally, tight ends. I know you got a tight end, big boy. But
I don't know. Do I? Might be a little slappy.
I'm gonna make a paper airplane out of this shit.
I know. Like when we're
the break of the show. Here's the bathroom break. There we go.
Oh, yeah, that was a hard dive.
Yeah.
Looking at the tight ends here, it's. I think it's going to be a little bit different. I'm not really. I wouldn't say different. I think it's going to be scarce for us to find production, when it comes from the AAC. I mean, just looking at the tight end values where there's not really a whole lot of tight ends that we're gonna be like awe about. I mean, I think a lot of these other tight ends will be coming from a lot of these other bigger schools, but I think there's a small potential in some of these guys that can give you a 1 or 2 touchdown week where they might help you win, maybe one of your weeks, so some of these guys I think one of these guys on the list I agree with. The rest of them I'm not sure. My list is a little bit different. I did 3 guys, but I mean I like one of them on here. The other guy, I think it might be a little bit different for the Tulane for me, possibly, because I mean he was a quarterback, so he turned into a tight end. So I think there's a little bit different. So I don't know. So it's gonna be a little different for sure.
In these smaller conferences, let's just be honest. These smaller conferences, it's gonna be hard to find a great tight end. It just is. Most of them end up, they're at Penn State or Ohio State, or so we're kind of going off what little sample size we have of some of these guys. And obviously the top 2 guys, both from UT San Antonio. I'll start with Houston Thomas. Houston Thomas had numbers comparable to not the Tyler Warren or anything from last year, but just a solid, good tight end that you could have picked up on the waiver wire. If you needed him in a couple matchups. And I'm hoping this year he can take that next step where he's a guy that's on your roster. Like he's just a guy that you draft late, or you pick up. He has a couple big games early in the season. You pick him up, you're like, oh damn, okay. Because he had 34 receptions last year, 470 yards, 3 touchdowns. And it's not bad. And they had a committee going on, Jay. I mean, he had to work against the other guy, number 2, Patrick Overmeyer. He also had 31 receptions, a little less than 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So they kind of almost have like a Green Bay Packer, Tucker Kraft and Musgrave, Luke Musgrave kind of vibe going on. Or one's just probably a little bit better than the other one, but so yeah, these are my top 2 guys, and statistically they were the top returning AAC tight ends. They were the top 2 guys, so I put them there. I'll let you jump in. This will probably be the quickest segment we do. Brandon Young Jr. I'm kind of speculating here. He doesn't have a lot to work with. Last year as a freshman, 3 receptions, 7 yards. You and I could get 3 receptions for 7 yards. But he's only a sophomore. See what he can do with that North Texas passing game. He's penciled in right now to be their feature tight end. So we'll see what happens. That's kind of just speculating. And like I said, there's not a lot to work with. I'd say these last couple guys here, you could, and Jay's probably gonna have different people that he'd throw in as well.
Yeah, I only had.
Oh, go ahead.
I only had 3.
Oh, okay.
I did my list a little bit different. I mean, I pretty much did.
There's not a lot to work with.
Yeah, I mean, going forward, I mean, I'm just gonna do like 15 players in total for my like people to watch for kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Especially these smaller conferences, this is probably a stretch what we're doing. But Justin Reed, he's a Southern Miss transfer. He had decent. You're hoping you can get more receptions, but he had 7 receptions, 145 yards last year. So maybe, he's not going to be Alex Bauman. Alex Bauman was a stud, probably going to get drafted to the NFL, like, at Miami. So obviously Tulane couldn't afford to keep him. And then number 5, I put, unfortunate. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. Tulane, I feel bad for, because they would have been the favorite in this conference had they been able to keep Mensah, Hughes, and Bauman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
They would have been. Yeah, they probably would have stolen a playoff bid. Honestly. Yeah. So it's sad. And then number 5, Daniel Everett from Temple. He probably could have been higher. You could argue he could be number 3 because he had 8 receptions, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. So in Temple, they're not very good. So you're just kind of hoping like that he's just there, by default he's like their number 2 target or something, and he gets numbers because nobody else can get open. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, Jay. I'm gonna do a quick little sleeper here because I mentioned him earlier. Just kind of recapping, and then we can get into your players as well.
Yeah.
So Byrum Brown, he's the guy. His stock has never been lower. We can't beat that into your head enough. Like, of the conference, this guy has the best chance to be this year's Ashton Genty. To be that like transcendent small school superstar. Like this is the guy. This is the guy if he's healthy. And USF, obviously he could carry them to, if he's healthy and things are firing in all cylinders, they could have a monster year and win 9-10 games. So we'll leave it at that. But I would definitely get your hands on him because his stock has never been lower. So
yeah.
Did we die?
Gone. No, we're here. Yeah, no. So this is powered. This is all coming from RotoWire, which I like here. So I don't know. I mean, check this. I mean, this is I like the breakdown here because it gives you a little bit of an idea of how many plays total they ran and the averages of the games and things like that. I mean, UTSA, which is why we're kind of high on UTSA with some of the players, because they almost had 1,000 some odd plays, averaging 76 plays per game, So
these guys are very balanced, Jay.
Yeah. And to think about it, look at Army. Passing 13%, the rushing is 86%, and then you look at
what the fuck?
and look at Navy, 23% passing to 76, 76 rush. So that's why we bring up some of these guys on those sides. Why I kind of did it a little bit differently, but just kind of looking this as a whole, you'd be like, oh shit, look at that. The only reason why Army and Navy were great because the rushing upside. That's it. They barely passed, and all they did was rush. That's it. And if you want to look at I love UTSA there.
Man. I like to rush.
Yeah. The riser in this conference for me is East Carolina. They were at the very, very bottom of this league last year. They only put up like 114 fantasy points in 2003, and this last year they put up 294. So that's actually where is it? Sorry, 100 plus 180 fantasy points. So you can see that their team actually evolved a little bit. So that helped out quite a bit. You can see their passes 47 to the rush. They're pretty equal. So I like this. And then what I was doing myself is just kind of looking at teams that were actually just kind of just terrible. Tulsa, they kind of stayed the same. They didn't really do a whole lot either. So they did a lot of plays. So I just like this breakdown here. You can kind of see where you can target and where you might want to stay away from too as well. FAU, it might be, they're kind of looking pretty decent. They got some transfers in that I might actually myself, I might try to target, and one guy I'll probably end up bringing up to as well. But if you guys want to, can pause this, check this out, screenshot or whatever you guys want. But yeah, I mean that's kind of a conference breakdown here and whatnot. I don't mind it. Charlotte's kind of at the bottom, which is unfortunate, and because there was actually one guy I was actually looking at, but he transferred out, which was kind of sad. And yeah, he was a quarterback. He was kind of a dual threat quarterback with Charlotte, and so I was like, oh, I'm gonna actually kind of look into him a little bit. And yeah, he transferred out. So I'm like, rats. But just as fantasy totals, they actually did 3,765 fantasy points, for 2024 last year. So I mean, just to think about this, that as an average, say 12 games.
Max, was it Max Brown?
No, it was a different name. That wasn't Max Brown. I had it written down.
I thought Max Brown was with North Carolina not too long ago, but
yeah. But they averaged, so as a conference whole, they averaged like 313 fantasy points, as a conference. But I broke it down a little bit more. But I mean, it was just kind of a fun little thing to kind of take a look at and see what teams we can kind of target here. So just pause, screenshot this, and you take a look, take it as what you want over there.
There we go. I'm gonna screenshot it.
Yeah, there you go.
I gotta close out Pornhub. 1
second. Or this might be up in our Discord too as well. So if you guys are in our, if you want to jump in our Discord, this will be up there in our Discord too as well. Yeah. So just give me one more. Right back, because
we back. Yeah, there we go.
Because my dumb ass forgot to set up the scene here. Because I'm like, what? I thought I had everything set up, but nope. My fault. I dropped the ball on that one. But
there's JD again. There's Jay Ducker.
So yeah, so these are kind of my top 15. I'm gonna go from 15 all the way up to 1 here. But we talked about Pat already a little bit here. 47 targets, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns. So I mean, I think there's some potential there. With this kind of like the Packers offense that Eli mentioned there. Collins is a transfer from UTEP to the Owls, so I think he was a freshman last year. He didn't have any no playing time as well, so I think there is potential with him over there with the Owls revamping their offense over there. So I mean, I think this might be a good addition over there. And Ty Thompson, who was the Tulane's quarterback, I believe he was transferred into from I think UCLA or somewhere in there. He transferred in, but he's going to be a tight end this year, so I think there's a good opportunity. I know you brought up somebody else too as well, but I think he might be a guy that we'll kind of watch too, just in case he gets a little bit more involved. He could be their number 1 tight end too as well, because he has a good idea of the offense already. So I think there's potential of him, scoring some touchdowns. And
yeah, Jay, I was gonna say, other than the top, the 2 guys from UT San Antonio, everybody else could lose their spot. I mean, I think Everett from Temple, he'll probably keep his starting position. But everybody else is pretty much an open door. So if somebody pops, don't hesitate to drop, pick up. Ty Thompson could be the feature tight end. Right now Brandon Young is penciled in. That doesn't mean that he'll be the starter week 2 or so. Yeah, Ty Thompson, keep an eye on him. And like Jay was saying, he's a converted quarterback. That's worked out a couple different times. I remember back in the day, wasn't it Blake Bell from Oklahoma? Didn't he, when he played with the Chiefs for a little bit, he was a converted quarterback to
there's more. You kind of see more of that now. I mean, think of Tyson Hill. He's kind of that,
Taysom Hill. Maybe Ty Thompson is the modern Taysom Hill, or the
it's hard saying. Yep. Munler from UAB. He is kind of a guy to maybe kind of take a look at. 83 fantasy points, it was 116th overall, 40 targets, 114 yards, 3 touchdowns. So it looks like a little bit of a burner. So I mean,
he's a deep threat. Yeah. 5 plus 20-yard receptions. So a little bit of a burner.
Yeah. So he's number 12 on my list here. I mean, and these are guys that I kind of bring up are guys that you might want to be chasing for your weekly waivers or something like that. These are just names I'm bringing out to you so that you guys can keep an eye on it on these guys. If you want to write these guys down. So those are my thoughts when I bring my list to you. Some of these guys are guys you might end up being drafting. But other than that, you brought up Ducker. He was 61st overall. I mean, 745 yards, 4+ 20 yards, so he's not a bad running back, and you brought him up already. 142 fantasy points in total. I can't remember what that averaged out to because I didn't have enough room to put that all on here. The quarterbacks, I kind of did that for them, but overall, I think he was averaging maybe 14 or 15, I think it was.
That's not bad though for Temple to get the 61st ranked fantasy running back from last year. I know we're not talking about like a power four, obviously that's low picking fruit for Georgia or something, but for Temple, a program like Temple to get somebody like him, I think is a huge score. Jay Ducker is going to be if not the best, one of the better running backs in this conference all year. So you're definitely going to roster. I think maybe bench, but he's definitely going to be on your roster.
Yeah, I would believe so. I would think so. All right, number 10, Keyshawn Singleton, 39. Oh, actually supposed to be 39 targets, not carries. 39 targets, 428 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 4+ 20 yards receptions in there. So if we're gonna think of this rebound here, I mean, this guy, Byrum Brown is gonna have to feed this guy a little bit here too as well.
Yep. Feed him.
So if we're hoping for Byrum Brown rebound here, I mean, this is a guy to kind of take a look at. 143rd, he didn't really have a whole lot, but I think, with Byrum Brown kind of being injured and stuff, so I think that kind of totaled, their offense from, the year before, being high flying to being mediocre last year. I don't know. This is the only guy I can think that I can come up with, for wide receivers that could have the potential of kind of a breakout or sleeper, kind of that sleeper mentality a little bit. He had 3 touchdowns, but a lot of these guys I mentioned are going to be for, maybe waiver pickups and stuff like that too as well. Robert Henry, you brought him up already. 40th overall last year in the running back room. 130 carries, 706 on the ground, and he had 7 touchdowns. So I mean, this guy has potential. I mean, could be a week where this guy pops off 2 or 3 touchdowns. So you just never know with this USTA offense. But hey, I don't mind it. He's not my number 9. Unfortunately, I mean, I have Byrum Brown at number 8 here as well. So 99th, in the quarterback room, 14 fantasy points was not the greatest for this guy. 836.
Holy shit. I was just looking this up because I had to double check. I said top 15. Byrum Brown was the number 4 overall fantasy player in 2023.
Yeah.
We're talking, this guy's ceiling is like, I can't even point that high. I need to point my camera up more. How high this guy's ceiling is. Just how far he's fallen. Even Jay has him number 8 on his list. I had him. I'm disrespecting him. I put him number 3 quarterback in the. This guy's healthy. We're talking potential Heisman contender, potential to shoot USF through the roof. You're get your. Let me put that damn. Get your hands on this man.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, he had down here, did Byrum Brown already have his breakout year already, so can his potential be back to the 300 some odd total fantasy points, where he's averaging maybe 23, 25 fantasy points per game, so that's going to be the key with him.
The Bulls.
Yep. You already mentioned McCutcheon at 7 here. He's going to be, 62 targets, 424 yards, 5 touchdowns. So, a lot of these, I mentioned these will be people you want maybe to, have as for your waiver wire guys if you're missing out on. But, I think this guy has a little bit more potential, especially with this UTSA offense. I don't know. It's just crazy to think about. We're talking a lot of UTSA here, which is nuts. I thought it'd be a lot of Tulane, but I wanted to be more Tulane.
They got pillaged. UTSA actually held on to a lot of their players, and that's why I'm thinking that's a good pattern going forward for them, that they're going to be able to retain. They're not getting the top talent, but that they can hold on to their team and be a consistent winner, going forward.
Yep.
That's what I like.
Yep. I think the other one thing too, I have a couple. Yeah, UTSA actually scored a Max Griffith QB, 4-star, so when, McCowan does leave, they have another 4-star in hand, so I mean, maybe in the year, I don't know if he will be going to the draft this year or next year, but they have a guy behind him, so maybe you can learn a thing or two from him, and maybe this team could still be the same, but we'll kind of see there. 6, I have McClure from Tulane. He was a freshman last year, 279th, 21 fantasy points. But, with this Tulane offense being totally revamped now, with, Hutch, Hughes being gone, he was the bell cow there. I think there's going to be some very well potential. I know he had a nice. I think there's potential because he already knows the offense a little bit. I mean, a couple guys know I know they had a transfer in, but I think the people that were already there, I think they kind of have an idea, the plays down. I think there's potential, and maybe McClure could be that, be that guy down there as well. I think so. This could be a two-headed monster. I think I think Tulane's going to be kind of figuring that out in the first couple weeks here.
It's not going to be last year where you had a true feature. I mean, Mekhi Hughes is an NFL level running back, so it's going to be, I think, by committee. So it kind of just based on the who's hot, who's got the hot hand, who you're going to use if you pick somebody up.
Yeah, kind of pick your poison. And my number 5, I have Anthony Smith, who he had 82 targets, almost 800 yards last year, 6 touchdowns, 7 plus 20 yards receptions there. So I mean, with me liking ECU a little bit, they actually boomed last year, so they, with their high potential here, bringing people in, revamp, I think there's potential here with Anthony Smith here. I know you had a couple of different guys there. Anthony Smith, and if you're looking for a wide receiver, I think he has
got the Smith brothers, got Yannick and Anthony.
Yeah. So there, I don't think ECU is really going to lose a step with losing a guy. I think they still have quite a few of their guys retaining from last year. So I mean, Smith is a guy. I think he'll be their number 1 guy down in ECU. So if you're looking for a number 1 guy down there, I think Anthony Smith will be your guy. So, and I like Caden Hauser too. I mean, 53rd overall, 228 fancy points. I mean, a little sour, a little bit. Yeah. So number 4, I mean, I think he has potential. And, I was kind of like, ooh, look at this guy. I mean, he can throw the ball. I mean, I like what I was seeing. I was actually watching a few ECU games last year too as well. But I mean, 18 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. I mean, hopefully that kind of simmers down a little bit. Maybe his yards goes up a little bit more than hopefully maybe like a 3,000 some odd yard season. But he was averaging 25 fantasy points, which is a plus. We want guys where they're averaging, between 25 to 30 fantasy points when it comes to your quarterbacks. Caden Hauser is a guy I'd probably keep my eye on, especially for a bye week guy. If there's a lot of these other guys are fulfilled, or depends on how deep your rosters are and whatnot in that aspect. So that's my number 4. Number 3 will be Messer. He was a West Kentucky guy going over to the Owls here.
Owls, Florida. Yeah, I should have included him. I kind of slipped up there. I put him in the main graphic actually. Like he's right.
You?
Yeah. So he's right there.
So
yeah, he should. Yeah, no, definitely Easton Messer. Jay was saying, put up almost 800 yards receiving last year, 4 touchdowns. Could see him doing more with the Owls as well. So that was a nice pickup by them.
Yeah. I mean, look at it, 10 plus 20 yard receptions and that. So I mean, I think this guy, it's gonna be slept on. I mean, if you're looking at a guy that, especially with potential like that, I mean, I would like to see more touchdowns. So maybe with the Owls revamping a lot of guys, especially with these 2 guys coming from Western Kentucky, Vellenkamp and him, they already kind of got that mesh together. So hopefully that kind of pans out, and this will be a guy you want to be looking at for
kind of got that Julian Edelman vibe.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much. And then number 2 is going to be Gregory from Memphis. 31 carries, 228 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 plus 20 yard yards on the ground. I don't know. I just think that, Memphis has always been known for their running back. So, I mean, this guy has potential. I think he's the number 2 in their thing, right? I don't remember exactly. But
you keep talking. I'm going to open the door and use the bathroom. I'm gonna take a piss.
But no, Gregory is a guy that we want to take a look at. It's very, very, very possible that he can actually bring you some good fantasy points. I can't remember what he did last year as far as fantasy totals. But let me give that to you just 1 second here. Let's see, what did he do? I think he averaged, it was 15 or 16 fantasy points, which is not the, total. I mean, we like to probably see a little bit more. I mean, this with their offense, I believe that he's going to come up a little bit more. He should at least have 5 or 6 more touchdowns in that aspect. I didn't look at the projections yet, but he is a name to be taking a look at there. And then my last and final one for number 1 is going to be Owens, 17th overall. 332 fantasy points, 26. That's an average of 26 fantasy points, 10 interceptions, 25 touchdowns. So, I mean, this is going to be a guy you more likely you want to keep your eye on, maybe star him or something like that. One of those two things there. But he has he has the potential of, this being the star in the AAC this year. So, I mean, McCown's my number 1 guy here in that aspect.
Yeah, no, yeah. Owen McCown, definitely. Yep. I was talking to him up earlier. DeRozier's from Memphis. Yeah. Maybe it's a system. Maybe it's a lot of Memphis running backs have ended up in the NFL or had great stats. So maybe it's another system where DeRozier's kind of pops and has a.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's as good as Anderson from last year, but he's gonna should have some decent stats being the feature guy.
Yeah, I was gonna look up to see what he averaged quickly and
then I actually I have a pig that we're getting a pig and not actually slaughtering it, but getting the whole thing for some meat, so I can get them muscles real big. So we'll try to wrap this bad boy up, but
just to recap here, just real quick. McCown is my number 1. We got DeRozier, number 2. We got Easton, 3. Kate Hauser, 4. Anthony Smith at my 5. And then we got 6. Jamal McClure from Tulane, running back. Devin McCutcheon, wide receiver. And then we have Byrum Brown from my number 8. And then we have Robert Henry from the UTSA. And then we have Keyshawn Singleton. And then 11 Ducker from Temple, Miller from UAB. Then we have Ty Thompson, Collins, and Pat Overmeyer from a 13, 14, and 15.
Meet UTSA. meet.
Yes, but yeah. Other than that, yeah. I mean, it was a very interesting AAC kind of breakdown, kind of look at, see what they were doing and whatnot, So go back, take a look at all the time codes will be in the description here after the show is over with. So you can go around, bounce around. But other than that, I hope you guys liked what you guys saw here, kind of a breakdown and of the AAC as a whole. Guys to kind of watch for, guys you may want to star or something like that. I mean, some of these kids have potential. But yeah, we like Byrum Brown for sure. But other than that, make sure you guys subscribe, like the channel, follow us on the X. Make sure you follow us on the Spotify and the Apple. We do have our Discord link in the description too as well, so you can always find us. Yep. You can always find us stuff down below too as well.
I was going to get in, Jay. Quarterbacks here. There's quality quarterbacks here. You don't have to worry about that if you end up drafting them or picking them up early in the season on the waivers. A lot of quality quarterbacks in this conference. I know they've lost some talent, but and a lot of young guys are going to step up. Stats got to go somewhere, even on bad teams. Like we always say. We always said that when we did the NFL. We say it now in college. Like stats don't just go out the window. Stats got to go somewhere. And so a few of the guys that we mentioned, whether it's DeRozier's from Memphis or maybe McClure from from UTSA. One of these guys that was like, kind of under the surface is going to pop and be 1,000-yard running back or 1,000-yard receiver or maybe a 500-600 yard tight end. So, keep your eyes on all these guys. That's why we went through this stuff. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's a lot of fun. We're going to do more of the, I missed this. Jay missed this. It's been almost 3 months since we've streamed. So
yeah,
it's been too damn long. We missed this. We're going to do some more conferences and comment, if you guys want to see, or, somebody that wants to see a particular conference, you want, who knows, maybe you want another small conference. Maybe you want Sunbelt. We can do that. If you want a big conference, hell, we'll talk Jeremiah Smith and Ohio State. We'll talk some of the big boys over. Maybe that multi-million-dollar recruit Michigan got a quarterback. We'll dive into whatever. We're an open book. So.
Yeah, I would say we're open. I guess we're open book. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want, just make sure you guys, jump into our Discord, give us some ideas of what you guys want, and we're always there to, I don't know, we're growing it. We're still a small little channel here yet, but I mean, we like to go in depth so you guys get the best information you guys can get for making the decisions you guys want for this year's.
Yeah, we fuck up. We fuck up sometimes. We make a few mistakes. So if you're some of those haters out there, it's like whatever, eat a dick. But if not, if you're happy, just you're getting a little comedy. You're getting players you wouldn't get anywhere else. You think they're talking about this on ESPN? They're not. No. Maybe some smaller channels like us on YouTube are getting into this stuff. So help us. We're like your favorite indie band. Okay, so
yeah, there you go. Keep us a secret. You can keep us in.
Yeah, I'll be your dirty little secret.
But anyways, we're gonna wrap up here, guys. Just follow us on the social medias. We'll let you guys know when the next conference will be coming out. I usually post in the Discord a little bit more often. I didn't get a chance to do that on the X, because of time, because I didn't have time to do that. Usually I kind of post everything on the X, but Discord is the first place I mention a lot of that stuff. So follow us on jump into the Discord. Well, hopefully we can chat with you guys there. So other than that, from Jamie and Eli, we'll see you guys on the next one.
We'll be back. Yeah, we'll be back soon. We promise this time. We're not going to be like your dad and go to get milk and never come back.
Oh my God. Shut up, man. All right. See you guys later.